Hi, and welcome to another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist. I am your host, Dennis Richkovsky. Some of you know me as the co-owner of Flip Flops Donuts, and some of you recognize me as your broker of real estate, specializing in waterfront and waterview properties along the Crystal Coast, especially in my town of Emerald Isle, North Carolina. Just the other day, I began working with a first-time home buyer named Sheila. Nothing unusual, you might think, until it was. You see, Sheila told me that this was her first home buying experience. However, since she is middle-aged and a veteran, I assumed she knew something about how the home buying process worked. So much for me being a good listener. And it was this experience that inspired me to record this video to give first-time home buyers insights into how the home buying process really works. And it doesn't work like the ads on television. Getting back to Sheila, she contacted me after looking at homes on Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com. That's perfectly normal. After all, when we want information, whether about clothing, food, a car, or a home, the internet is the first place we all go to gather that information. When you are gathering information, you are in what I call phase one of the buying cycle. And that is where I thought Sheila was when she sent me an email asking for more information about 423 Eagle Road. Reading the phrase, requesting more information, simply reinforced my assumption that Sheila was firmly entrenched in phase one of the buying cycle. And phase one is decidedly low urgency, back burner, if you will. 2 days later, Sheila and I meet, and Sheila tells me that she and her husband are scheduled to see 423 Eagle Road on Saturday, apparently without me. Whoa! That told me a couple of things. First, that Sheila had moved into what I call phase two of the buying cycle. And since phase two is higher urgency, front burner if you will, I immediately went to the listing to get a showing scheduled. I discovered that the seller had accepted an offer earlier that day. And while some agents allow showings of a listing that is under contract, this agent does not. Well, Sheila's husband would have none of that. He had fallen head over heels with the property, and he was going to see that property. I could see this relationship spiraling out of control before it even got started. So I called the agent and he confirmed what I already knew. There would be no more showings. And second, this was as good a time as any to sit down with Sheila and her husband and describe some of the home buying process and my role in that process. I didn't spend much time on phase one, as buyers in phase one don't really think they need a real estate agent, and I agree. But when Sheila or anyone else moves into phase two, this is where the proverbial rubber meets the road, and home buyers need the services of a real estate agent like me. I understand the reticence first-time home buyers have with working with an agent. Sometimes the hesitancy is about cost. When you contact a lawyer or speak to your physician, you pay for that time directly. And yes, I am compensated for my time, but from a buyer's perspective, it is indirect. You as the buyer do not pay me, but for bringing you, the buyer, to closing, I am compensated by the seller. Sometimes the hesitancy is about what I do. As an agent, I do more than simply open a door for you. I represent your interests. Whatever you tell me about your budget, your credit score, your dream home, etc., stays with me. And when it comes time to negotiate a sales price, I use that information and more to your benefit. Once your offer is accepted, I coordinate all inspections, etc., and I hold your hand until I give you the keys to your new home at closing. That is why I recommend that all home buyers, first time or seasoned, do not call the number on the listing. Typically, that is the number to the listing agent who represents the seller's interests exclusively. Tell that listing agent your budget, your credit score, your dream home, etc., and that information goes right back to the seller. Do you think that kind of information can influence negotiations? Absolutely, and probably not in a positive way for you as the buyer. A third reason for hesitancy is how to hire an agent to represent your interests. The key is to hire local. All real estate is local, and the detailed knowledge a local agent like me possesses trumps the cursory information contained in national internet marketing sites like Zillow. As for how you find me, start by visiting my website at www.emeraldisleHomesForSaleNC.com. Learn about the Crystal Coast and Emerald Isle by reading and subscribing to my blog. Or watch and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist. When you have all the information you need, simply call me direct at 919-308-2292. I won't bite. Once you have found me, congratulations! We will chat and I will send you properties based on your description, budget, location, etc. And if any homes are of interest, call me and I'll get some showings scheduled. And 3 more points. First, it is quite normal for you as my clients to suggest homes to visit. I encourage the interaction. Second, when you are in phase 2 of the home buying cycle, calling me or texting my personal cell number at 919-308-2292 is the only way to communicate. And third, until I hand you the keys to the house at closing, do not fall in love with any home. Buying your first home or your 5th home is an emotional roller coaster. And the further along in the process we get, the amplitude and the frequency of the emotional climbs and descents continue to increase. Not to worry. Like a bridge over troubled waters, I will ease your mind. I also think that the beginning of phase 2 is a good time to get pre-qualified for a mortgage. Most listing agents will not present an offer to a seller unless the buyer attaches a pre-qualifying letter to that offer. And much like real estate is local, so too is financing, in my opinion. So if you are buying a home along the Crystal Coast, I recommend obtaining a pre-approval letter from a local source. The process can be expedited in a few minutes, and this pre-approval letter gives you street cred with the many sellers and their listing agents. And whatever you decide, please do not go with the rocket. When the rocket takes off, you have no idea where your personal and financial information is going on the internet. So now, thanks to Sheila, you have my home buyer's orientation to buying the home of your dreams here in Emerald Isle, North Carolina, or elsewhere along the Crystal Coast. Return next week to this same bat channel at the same bat time of 9 a.m. on Thursday for another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist.